I'm not the type of guy to talk a lot about myself, but I wanted to show you this. On the left, you see a joke. I'm going to talk about that later. On the right, you see my name, Groot. I am an actor, theater creative in the Netherlands and Belgium mostly, which means that I not only act in films and theater, but I also create theater. So I write plays, I direct plays. I create a lot of my own work because I'm able to write and create. I write stories, I perform as a storyteller. So I do a lot of different things all within that spectrum of live performance, which is prohibited for a year now. So it's tough times for the actor theater creative in the Netherlands. Below that, you see man met koffer, which for the Dutch is easy to read. For those who not know Dutch or don't read Dutch, it means man with suitcase. And that's the first thing I want to talk about. It's the name of my company, but it's also a sort of a thing that I wanted to give you to start with. We are in a crisis, but the only way out is also what I wrote in the note that came with this meeting. The only way out is you. Man with suitcase refers to the way I look at acting, and it is that I am my own instrument. The violinist, he plays the violin. The pianist, he plays the piano. The only thing I have to play with and to portray whatever I want to portray, to create whatever I want to create, is me, is this body, is this voice, and it's everything that is within this brain, my thoughts, my emotions, my life's experience, my baggage, my suitcase, my luggage. But that also applies to any business that you do. So it's always you, and every tool you will ever need, every skill you will ever need for your business can only be found in you. So if you can't find it, go inside. It's there somewhere. You have everything you need, and it's in you. The left, it's to be is what it says. For those of you who know Shakespeare, there's a quite famous monologue in Hamlet: to be or not to be, whether it's nobler in a mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or take arms against a sea of troubles and by opposing end them. And this goes on and on and on for like 5-6 minutes. Hamlet constantly in doubt. The whole play, it's 5.5 hours long. And an actor friend of mine and me, we were kind of fed up with it, and teasing. And I said, you know what? And I scratched not to be. I said, so we fixed Hamlet. It's to be. The whole monologue can go away, and now it's a lot shorter this way too. So let's tell Hamlet it's to be. But that also became some sort of a philosophy for myself. Just be, and nothing else. Just try to be where you are, in the time and the place where you are. So that's me. But we're not here to talk about me. Oh, I hope my PowerPoint is working. This is how good I am. We're not here to talk about me, but we're here to talk about what I called the 9 essential acting principles. There's a lot of unwritten laws within the acting world, within our profession, that I think are also valuable for you. But to start with why I am so passionate about this, why this is so important to me, I would like to talk with you. I would like to share with you, if it all works. It worked like a minute ago. I wanted to show you this picture. And it goes back about a year or 25 ago, when I was with my brother, who was studying to become an archaeologist. And I don't know how he got me into it, but we were in a train, about to take a train ride of 3.5 hours, single trip, to go to the Museum of National History. And I'd sort of surrendered to the situation. I thought, okay, I'm going to do this for him. I'm going to go there and let him teach me and tell him all he knows about history and archaeology. I didn't have any expectations, but then we came there and I saw these paintings, cave paintings made like 20,000 years ago or something. In a day and age when the human beings were in the middle of nature, there were cave lions and saber-toothed tigers and woolly mammoths and wolves and bears, and there was danger and death on every corner. If the winter was too long, you would die. But in this state of survival, in societies that were constantly in state of survival, still these people found time somehow to spend that precious time on making art. And it was some sort of an epiphany. I said, wow, apparently this is as important as food and shelter and drinking and keeping yourself warm and all these basic needs. Apparently, having a creative outing in whatever form or shape is a basic human need. That's why I was so angry when my government took it away from me in March last year. It's like somebody told me, please stop breathing. It didn't fit in my head. It's a basic human need. So it is in all of us. This creative way of creative outing is in all of us. So please, if it is a bit numb now, work on it and do your daily exercises and try to, it's there somewhere. You're born with it. It's instinct. And there's a second thing why it is so important that I found out later when I was on vacation in Kenya, and I saw these massive plains with all the zebras on it and the wildebeests. But there was this one zebra, you could easily see that he had been bitten by a lion. You could literally see the teeth marks of a lion in one of his hind legs. But he was walking around like, hello, I'm not hurt. I'm not hurt. And he was sort of trying to walk as normally as possible. And I thought, okay, this is why we know. This is why we know how to pretend. Animals know it as well. It's because sometimes it's a life or death situation. It is in our survival instinct. Imagine that you would not be able to play pretend, and that from now on you had to be honest to everybody all the time. It's not possible. Well, it is possible, but you would end up alone, without friends, without a job, probably, without, because nobody, we have to, in the social environment that we grow up in and that we live in and do business in, you have to be able to play pretend, to act. So we are all natural born actors, is what I'm saying. So that is the bottom for the rest of my story. The way out of crisis is always a creative one. Claudia said this should have been the title of your everything you're going to say today. Maybe it should have. It's not. Doesn't matter. I've written this down because we are in a crisis, and I believe that the way out of crisis is a creative one. And it took me back to when I was 15, I think, and we were sitting in biology class on high school, and we had done all the tasks we needed to be done. Everything was, we had time to spare. And the biology teacher, we went to the board, and he said, okay, do you want to play a game? And we said, yeah, of course, we want to play a game. Okay, so he drew on the board a house, well, the inside of a house, a chamber, a room, and then a couch, and then somebody sitting on a couch, and one door. And he said, okay, this door is the way out. This is the door to the rest of your house and to the exit. And so it's very important. This is way in and way out. Okay. He said, do you have this picture? This is your safe place. This is your house you live in, and everything is going well, and you're just sitting here. And I said, yeah. Okay. Then he drew a tiger sitting in front of the door. And he said, okay, what next? If we do nothing, he jumps on the couch and we get eaten alive and we die. So we have to fix it. What do we do? And we thought, okay, what do we do? Well, the tough guy said, okay, we'll punch him. And I said, but that doesn't work. I wasn't one of the tough guys. I thought it was a biology assignment. So I thought, okay, maybe we feed the tiger and then it's less hungry and it's not going to eat us. And so, there's no food in the room. Biology teacher said, okay, maybe we cuddle it so it becomes calm. And he said, no, we'll bite your arm off. Okay, for everything, every logical reason, every realistic sort of approach that we had, of idea that we had, he had a problem. We couldn't fix it. And so we were kind of out of ideas, and he said, okay, let me fix this for you. And then he drew a window. He said, just take the window. And he said, oh, we felt sort of tricked. He said, yeah, we could have done, of course we could have done that, but we did 15 years and against, we were, it was really, I was really angry with him. But only a few years later, I realized that it was brilliant. That is what creativity can do. If you can't, if there's a tiger in front of your, and it's going to eat you, if you are in a crisis, the normal solutions are not going to help you. You need to free think. You need to go to your creative brain for the solutions. You cannot do it the way you've always done it. You have to come up with something new. Of course, laws of science do not allow us to, for real, draw a window on my wall and step through it. Of course not. But you can open a window inside your brain and open yourself up to options you didn't know you knew. So the way out of crisis is always a creative one. That's why I love my job. That's why I love acting and creating plays and etc. But we were here to talk about the 9 essential acting principles. We're going to do that in 3-fold. So 3 today, 3 next week, and the last 3 in 2 weeks. Half an hour power webinar. So I'm going to share them with you. Some you might know, some you might not know. But the first principle, I think we all know. The show must go on. This is one of the strongest unwritten laws that we have in the acting community, especially in theater. I don't know, I don't think filming actors use this a lot, but it comes down to, well, there's an audience and we promised a show tonight, so we have to deliver. The only reason not to show up as an actor is when you're dead. Some director literally someday said that to me. The only reason not to show up, even for rehearsal, is when you're dead. So are you dead? No, then you show up. No excuses. The show must go on. People got time out of their lives to show up. Your audience has got time out of their lives to show up. They spent money on a babysitter, probably, on the ticket, on the parking ticket. You have an obligation for them to show up and to give them your best because they paid and they have an expectation and you have to live up to that expectation. You always show up. The show must go on. No excuses. If you apply this on your life or on your business and you really put your mind to it, this is my deadline, whatever, however, but I am going to make it. What you will see is that the whole process leading up to that point and your way of thinking and your normal way of doing things will change. Because you have to now. You really, if you put your mind to it, no excuses. And go on until 3 a.m. in the morning, whatever it takes, or whatever you need. And maybe the end product will change. It will, most probably will change. It doesn't matter because you show up and you deliver. You will find a way. So open your mind by fixing yourself. This is the day and this is the time and there I have to deliver. And there it's finished, it's done. It's opening night, we've done it, the play is there, and this is it. You will find a way, you will always find a way. There's a Dutch poet who once said, zelfs binnen de perken zijn de mogelijkheden onbeperkt. His name was Jules Deelder, he died a few years ago. Which means even within limits, the possibilities are limitless. This is sort of what I'm saying here. The show must go on, whatever it takes. No excuses. You always show up. I think I've done 1,000, maybe 1,200 performances in my 12 years of professional acting. Quick guess, question for the audience. How much of these shows, how much of these performances do you think I have missed in all these 12 years? How much? 6. Hans says 6. He's insulting me. 1. I missed 1 performance, and it was because I was in a horrible car accident. I drove my car with about 70 kilometers an hour into the side bars of the freeway, and because I stepped out of it almost without a scratch and no pain. And I called my colleague and said, yeah, I'm going to make it, but I'm going to be a little bit later because my car's a wreck. And I put it in and she said, you're not going to come. And I'm going to cancel it for you. We're not going to perform. Because she had just gone through the same episode and spent months in trying to recover from a whiplash. And she said, I don't want the same thing for you. So she canceled the performance I missed. You always show up. Show must go on, whatever it takes. And this is something one of my teachers once said to me. She said, darling, if you don't have this level of motivation, you shouldn't have started in the first place. So if you cannot commit yourself to this level of the task at hand, then don't start it. It's not worth it. Go and do something else that you want to spend your 100% energy on. If you don't have this level of motivation, you should not have started in the first place. You can still hear her say this. Okay, second principle. Probably you've heard of this as well. It's called kill your darlings. It's the hardest thing to do. I never like to do it. I know I must, but I hate it. Kill your darlings is about that most of the time, that one thing that stands in the way of the final product. And the reason it's one of your darlings. It's one of these things you love so much in the process or in the product or whatever it is. And the way you do things, you love it so much that you don't, you think you cannot do without. I can give you an example. I was making a play with a group of young actors, and I'd given one of the actresses, she'd gone through a tough time privately, and I wanted her to shine. So I've written a really great role for her. Beautiful Shakespeare lines, beautiful role. And she could really throw her whole heart in it. And she was a layered part. She would be the voice in the head of one of the other characters, really intertwined in the play. It was really a great part. And it didn't work. The play didn't lift, it didn't flow. And I didn't understand why, until I realized I am holding on to this role that I wanted so badly for her. I wanted her to shine. I wanted her to thrive in these beautiful, beautiful lines of Shakespearean language. I wanted it. I definitely wanted it in the play. I loved it so much, but it didn't work. So finally, I decided to cut every line, the whole, every text, every line that she had. I threw it out. And what happened? She got a silent part now, and it was even more powerful. She was in the background all the time. She was around the other character, and she was constantly, and I could hear the things she was thinking for it in my head. It was even more powerful. And the play lifted, things started to flow again. But it was just that I loved it so much, I couldn't get rid of it. And there's always one thing standing in the way of, well, call it success, or call it, but it really is like removing a dam from a river. You know, it's that one thing you need to start and let things flow again. Probably most of the times this is the problem. It's ego. And Konstantin Stanislavski was an acting teacher, and his methods, his theory later became what people now know as method acting, what Robert De Niro uses in Doesnt and Hoffman, and they are really from this school. But he once said, where there is ego, there cannot be an actor. It's most of the times when you cannot kill that darling that you know you have to get rid of, but you don't want to, and you postpone it as long as possible. At some point you have to. It was my ego in this case, in this example. It was my ego. I didn't want to get rid of it. I thought I'd written the part so brilliantly, etc. But there's ego that cannot be an actor, which means as an actor you have to be totally free. You have to be open to any option. Actors who say, yeah, I know them. My character wouldn't say these things. So can we please scratch this? Oh, I hate them. Or actors who say, yeah, well, that silly dance in scene 24, I don't think that really suits my character. It's all ego. It's fear talking. And in the business world, there's this idea that you need ego to be successful, that you need ego to be strong. Well, ego is a weakness. Ego is fear. And it comes from a protective mechanism, because you are going to make yourself vulnerable as an actor. You're going to be vulnerable in front of strangers, which is like the highest level of fear. So it is a protective mechanism, but it's in overdrive. If you can get rid of ego, whatever your business is, you will see that miraculously everything is possible again. And you will be open to listen to others, and they have probably very good ideas, but you were so stuck on your own lane and in your own ego. You need to be assertive to be successful. Absolutely. And you need to know what you're doing to be successful. And you need to have the ability to tell people what you want, and to tell that story and your vision. But that's something different than ego. Ego is protective mechanism and overdrive. Ego is fear. So as soon as you get rid of that, you can become an actor. You can actually do something. To act is a verb. That's where the word comes from. It's doing something. So if you're stuck, it's probably ego. Okay? So it's a power webinar. We're short in time, so we're going to go to the third acting principle, one that I came up with myself. I didn't steal this. Principle number 3, failure doesn't exist. It's a philosophical epiphany of myself. And in orange you read, you just have been successful in discovering an unexpected outcome. And as a reason, there are 2 lights next to this text, because I sort of borrowed it from a man called Thomas Edison. He is the inventor of the light bulb, one of the most defining inventions in modern human history. He was interviewed for a newspaper, and they asked him, well, Mr. Edison, weren't you frustrated that it was only the 2000th attempt that you were successful in creating a light bulb? And he said, no, not at all. Because I have been successful in finding out 2000 ways how not to make a light bulb. And that's how I look at acting, at working, at doing business. Failure doesn't exist. Life is an experiment. Your job, I hope, is an experiment, your business, or at least try to see it like that and give it a scientific approach. You've been very successful in, well, finding out an unexpected outcome. That's what it is. And if you don't like the outcome, well, then go back to the input and change something over there. But you haven't failed. Well, you can fail, by the way, but your failures, you will never know them, because all your failures are those things that have never seen the light of day because you failed to do them. So, well, but to make it simpler, just tell yourself failure doesn't exist. I've been really successful in achieving an unexpected outcome. So go back to the drawing board and see what you can do there. Some people call it fail faster or make as much mistakes as possible. It's sort of the same deal, sort of the same story. But this is how I look at it. Failure doesn't exist. We've been really successful. Only the outcome is unexpected. This is Sir Anthony Hopkins, and he talked about choice. And he said, every second there are 1,000 choices. And the beauty of theater, more than in normal life, is that every one of those choices is potentially great. On stage, you can use everything. Everything, even your mess-ups, even your mistakes can be a great idea, because people would love to see that. And that's what he meant. Every choice is potentially great. And thank God, in normal life, you make most of your choices based on instinct or based on intuition, because you don't want to overthink every second of your life. But as actors, we have to recreate that. And so we have to think of every choice and choose the best one, or the one that suits the story the best, or the character. Or we are always in service of the play. We are always in service of the story, in service of our character. But know that every verb in every language is a choice you can make. I get really pissed off by people who say, yeah, I didn't have a choice. I said, liar, you're lying to yourself. Of course you had a choice. Of course, there's always, every second there are 1,000 choices. Every verb in every language is a choice you can make, is something you can do. So open yourself up to that option. And of course, experience, life's experience or acting experience teaches you to, well, to narrow the 1,000 choices down to the best 5 and then pick the best one. And of course, but well, listen to Sir Anthony Hopkins, he's a wise man, and try to look at life and business also like this. Failure doesn't exist, and nor does perfection. I would like to add that to that quote. Please always strive for perfection. Always try to achieve perfection. It's what I do. Every working day I start with, okay, this is going to be my best performance ever. It has to be. The show must go on. These people got time out of their lives, money out of their pockets. I have to show up and I have to be the best version of myself today. I want this to be perfect. Never happens. It never happens. Because there's so much going on, and so in life and so in business, but there's so much going on stage, and lines to remember, and the interaction with the actors and the interaction with the audience. You want to, once I played the perfect performance, and it was the most depressing day for my career. And I sat down afterwards, and the man who had booked me, who had booked the performance, he said, "What's going on?" I said, "It went exactly how I imagined this. I'd written it myself, but the play went exactly how I imagined it would work. And the audience reacted exactly how it would. And the whole place was uplifted. And I said, I can never play this show again." It was, to me, it was really sort of saying goodbye to something that I'd only done for, it was the 4th or the 5th time that I did this specific show. I said, I'm sort of sad because perfection is the end. But in all these years, I'm acting for 25 years now. I've only had it once that I thought, wow, this was the perfect performance. But by aiming at perfection, by trying to achieve it, you will always bring yourself so much further than if you just, were okay with 70%. Today I do a 6. No, always try to do a 10. And most of the times it's a 9 or 8.5 or something. But that's good. That, at least if I look at myself, it keeps me motivated to try again tomorrow and the day after tomorrow, and try again and try again and try again. So perfection drives me, but I've also found my peace in, okay, if it isn't today, I will try again tomorrow. But I'm not longer judging myself or punishing myself for not reaching it, because I reached it once and I didn't like it at all. It's the end. You cannot beat perfection. So please go and do it, and please try to make the perfect thing, whatever you do, or deliver the perfect service, but I hope you never do, is what I'm saying. But let it help you to bring you further. End of part 1.